Good morning, everyone. Thank you guys for being here. As we said, we're talking about mobile growth and user acquisition, and what we're trying to label as alt UA. The founder of Fluent is loving this little lingo, alt UA, alternative user acquisition channels. Really just trying to talk about channels outside of the duopoly of Facebook and Google and Apple. And we brought some of our experts and OGs in the industry that are partners of Fluent to talk a little bit about the channels they're buying in, how they're looking for incremental audiences in these kind of unique channels outside of the Facebook, Google, and Apple. Yeah, so alternative, that's what we mean by that, right? We're not talking about David Bowie, we are talking about user acquisition and how to find incremental audiences. I'll introduce myself really quickly. My name is Willis Nelson. I spearhead business development and sales at Fluent. We are a leading performance marketing company in the space. We have owned and operated inventory that is influencer marketing. We have rewarded discovery inventory. We have post-transactional inventory. So really, all different types of channels that you can tap into, all on a performance basis. Cool, and I'll hand it over to our panelists to introduce themselves. If you guys want to introduce yourself, where you live, a little bit about your role, and then maybe tell us about your favorite mobile game. We can just go down the line, Donna, if you want to start.
Oh, wow, it's working. So I'm Dana, a team lead user acquisition at Playtika. My favorite all-time mobile game, I have to say, Solitaire Gun Harvest.
There you go.
Because I'm super loyal and also super invested in this game. I have many hours in it, so pretty easy.
Nice. Is this on? Okay, cool. I'm Levi with LifeStreet. I'm the CEO at LifeStreet. We're a programmatic marketing platform, so a little bit different than Brett and Donna here. Let's see, based in the Bay Area. I'd say all-time favorite mobile game is probably Words with Friends that I haven't opened in like 5+ years at least. Yeah. But
love it. Thank you.
Hello. Okay. I'm Brett. I'm the VP of User Acquisition at Influence Mobile. Our app Rewarded Play is a gaming reward app. Yeah, I'm out of Seattle. I've been doing this for a while. Favorite game is Evermerge. I launched that game many years ago, and that one has been a beast in my career. So, yeah, still play it, but yeah, thanks.
Awesome. Yeah, glad you guys are here. All right, well, we'll dive into the first question. So it's been an eventful, past year, 18 months in the user acquisition space. A lot of marketers are shifting over to a very specific and strict ROAS model. So wanted to understand from you guys, what is the biggest change or what is the biggest pivot you guys are seeing in your user acquisition strategies and where you guys are buying? Levi, I know you can kind of talk about it from what you're seeing from your partners, your brand perspective, but curious if there's any shifts, any changes that you guys have seen towards the ROAS model and just towards your user acquisition spend the last 18 months.
I have to say the biggest change we made in our strategy is working more with the AI and especially AI prediction for the long run, since we understand that eventually when we look at our portfolio and the different channels, we want to make sure that we return the investment in the end of the day. So it helps us, makes us much more efficient, makes us look at the user at the right way and kind of differentiates between the user acquisition channels because everyone is like, each one acts totally different. And once we can predict ahead, really helps us kind of manage the whole portfolio. So this was the biggest change we made in our strategy in the last year. So
awesome.
I mean, from where we sit, it kind of feels like I would say the industry is maybe like growing up a little bit. I think the kind of economy shift from probably when we were, I guess it was starting when we were here last year at MAU, but the days of like crazy M&A money getting thrown around, the days of crazy UA budgets getting thrown around seem to be like gone. So it's a little bit of a more like restrained kind of grown up vibe, I would say, from clients right now, which is probably a little bit inevitable, I suppose.
Yeah, we're growing up. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would pretty much concur with you. I think the shift is focused on profitability a lot more than pure growth these days as a result of some of the things you mentioned, Levi. So personally, I think, at our company, we did a big I came over, we did a big strategy change altogether. We really focused much more on just putting in not only ROAS, but we focus a lot on putting in monetizers into our ecosystem to make the quality of our traffic as strong as possible.
Awesome. Yeah, that makes sense. And I guess within that, what is your guys' as you're making these shifts towards profitability, towards more strict ROAS goals? What channels? What does the marketing mix look like today? What channels have you been spending more in? Who's getting the lion's share of that spend based on the ROAS you need to see? I guess has there been a big shift there, or is it more tightening down the KPIs? What's that marketing mix look like, and what's working best for you guys today?
So our marketing mix, like I will not get into details, but I'll just say that is super diverse in this kind of like world of privacy. We always believe that diversing the portfolio is making us much more resilient to everything that happens. Like, for example, as I mentioned, the privacy changes, also like when competition go in. So we really like to diverse. Now we did this year, we have this program for new partners, so we can also like keep exploring the whole the channels. Like we work with all kinds of channels.
Continue testing.
Yeah. So we really like to explore, really like to test new inventory, keep expanding the channels that we do have. And this program really made us this year even more. We explored much more. If it's relevant for any of you, so just so you know that we have this program, and you can just like apply on our website at Playtika. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's smart. I guess before we keep going, that model of like almost like a sandbox type testing is important, right? I think some of the brands I've spoken to have done the opposite, right? And they've kind of just focused on the channels they know that works. It's tried and true. But I think being able to continue to test, right? There's a lot of new things coming up, so not keeping everything so close to your chest and tightening your belt, and still continuing to see what's out there, testing new models, testing new inventory. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I'll echo that. Like the long tail mix of our partners has grown. I would say it's doubled in the last year. Like it's really finding those alternative channels. I know this is cliche, but like it's discovering independent inventory supplies has been paramount for us, and that's really fueled a lot of our growth. And some of them are small, but they, some of the small private inventories that you might see out there, they're the best, have the best regression overall. So they're super profitable for what we get out of them. But yeah, it's adding that long tail has been that extra, 15% of our growth.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'll throw this back to you, Brett, because I know within the rewarded discovery world, has anything changed, or do you shift your strategy as competitors come into the space, right? I know there's a lot of rewarded discovery partners out there. A lot of people are coming up with the incentivized model, and I guess, do you guys shift your buying strategy as new partners come into the space? Do you welcome them with open arms? What is there a take that you have on kind of shifting based on competitors coming in? And then Donna, you can kind of talk about that from more gaming partners coming in, and I mean, that business is going to continue to grow. But Brett, you want to tell us a little bit about any shifts you guys do or how you guys approach that?
Simple answer is no. I mean, I'm in charge of like profitability. So what they do is, I'll see it in the mix, so to speak. Like we'll see their impact as they come in. I analyze a lot of people, existing, partners and new ones for what they're doing differently. I would say, like, do they have a separate model? And then I feed that information back to our product team to say like, hey, this is something different. Like, can we add it in? Yeah. Our space is quickly growing, and there's a lot of people doing a lot of different types of incentives. So I would, it's really important to stay on top of the new trends, because you never know if it opens up potentially
learn from each other.
Yeah, huge amounts of money for us. So yep.
Yeah, makes sense.
I feel like you can't chase for chasing's sake, sort of, though, right? Like, I don't know. I think you try to learn what you can, apply it where it fits your business. Yeah. And, I think we have the most success just like being laser focused on, in our case, how do we make our customers happy? How do we drive better performance? And that's how we, don't kind of make stupid decisions by fast following sometimes, and focus on what's actually important.
Yeah, be cautious about those moves. Yeah.
For us, so the gaming industry is super competitive, and we know that, and we have many competitors coming in every day, and some of them affects us directly, some of them not. So when a new competitor enters, so of course we study exactly what he does. As they mentioned, it's super interesting seeing what others are doing, what works for them. But in terms of UA, I think that, as I mentioned, we have a diverse portfolio, and one of the big advantages of having that is it makes us much more resilient to competition. So we can always shift budget, reallocate, and we know that as you said before, doing much more diverse, not only Facebook and Google. So Facebook became really competitive, and the prices are very high. We know in some cases we are not willing to pay these prices. So we have a lot of other channels to kind of shift this budget and grow that are more profitable for us, more efficient. So yeah, that's what we usually do, and it helps us.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Okay, let's shift over to talking a little bit about the data that you guys share with your clients to help with targeting, to help with optimizations. I know in Fluent's business, I'm sure in yours as well, Brett, a big piece, the more data that you can share with your clients, the better job we can do. And Levi, you see the same thing. The better we can do from a targeting perspective, the better we can do from an optimization perspective. So what data are you guys currently sharing with clients that's helping pull those levers, that's helping you learn more about your audiences and make better decisions within these marketing channels?
Go for it.
I mean, we work with both of you guys. We actually work with Playtika on the other side. So I work with everybody here. I mean, we share as much information as we possibly can. I think, it behooves us from an advertising standpoint to be transparent. You guys, I can attest for Levi for sure. We have worked many times. I've spent many long nights with your brother about data and working on models together with him to get the most we could from LiveStream. And same thing with Fluent. I mean, we leverage as much as we can to get back to you guys because we know that helps just fuel our advertising.
Yeah, we appreciate that. Thank you, Brett.
It's a little interesting right now because obviously we get and use as much of that data as we can. We build lookalike models, things like that. Yeah. But we are in a little bit of a different situation than you guys now. And I think kind of this is where Fluent is providing some value, where what we see up front right now is dropping. So we can still use these signals, but the data that we kind of have to invest in right now is much more contextual because we just have less information than we used to at runtime primarily. Right. So it's kind of cool you guys are coming in, getting actual first-party data that then you can use to optimize on top of that. Yeah. And it's kind of a nice symbiotic relationship, it seems like.
Yeah, exactly. And I think a big part that we've done with that is breaking out campaigns for those different audience segments to make it easier for you guys to share that feedback, right? Not one blanket campaign. How can we break this out and make everybody's lives easier? How about you, Donna?
I would have to say that I like we as advertisers, as Playtika, want to get any piece of data, any data point that we can have. So sharing whatever it is to make the optimization more better. So if it's age, gender, OS version, OS type, whatever it is, that helps optimization. We love this kind of thing. So we always like to get as much data from the partners that we can get.
Yeah, I think, and there's the kind of that PI data, right? There's the user behavior data, and then that purchase data. I think a big part for us is knowing who those IAP users are, who's the users that are better monetizing more on the IAA model. So specific for gaming, I think that makes sense. Okay, cool. And then I guess within all these other channels, are you guys, you have your sweet spot audiences, you know who you're trying to go out and target and acquire. Do you guys go after any different personas, any different audiences per channel, or are you stay tried and true towards your kind of sweet spot audience? Or are there new channels that you're testing that you're kind of finding new audience segments that you didn't necessarily know could convert well for your game or be a valuable customer?
We always explore and we always find our new users, but eventually we know exactly who is our audience and how to find it. And of course, for the different UA channels, the personas are different. and we know how to approach them in the different UA channels. So, for example, if we take the rewarded apps, the persona there, what we have to keep in mind is their motivation. Of course, they didn't intend to download your app specifically, but if we are looking at it, we have a lot of power here that we can control their user journey within the game that we don't have it with any other channel. So when you do it right, when you know how to take this user for the right journey, so this user is super valuable. So this is like, I think that like analyzing and understanding which channel approach which users and which audience and like do it right. That's the key to success with the different channels.
Yeah, that makes sense. How about you guys, Brett, Levi? Anything to add there?
I think you hit it perfectly.
Donna just crushed it.
Yeah.
She got us all.
We're maybe a little different. I think like we have the notion of personas, but we kind of mostly let the models do the work and kind of create those. Like, I think a user at a time is sort of like a constellation of signals that you know about them. And, you try to make the best prediction based on everything that you know. But we're maybe a little bit atypical in that we don't really pigeonhole people into personas. We do see interesting things and interesting behaviors that kind of you can back into what might be a persona, but we do try to let the models do most of it in real time.
Let the data speak for itself.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so this will be an interesting one. I know because we've all worked with each other. We all have different types of inventory. Can you guys share any pros and cons that maybe you're seeing, whether it's related to the mobile web type traffic versus an in-app traffic? Obviously, I think we're the one partner up here primarily with mobile web traffic, but I'm curious what you're seeing, you guys buying from us, what you're seeing pros from our inventory compared to in-app. And then Levi, I don't know anything to, you're on the in-app side, but anything that maybe you're seeing as far as being a partner with Fluent. Anything?
Yeah, so eventually we buy all of it because we know that our users are everywhere and we want to reach as much as we can. Yeah. In terms of pros and cons, I guess we are reaching more users because they are everywhere and we need to reach them even if they are reading news or so yeah, and we can, of course, it makes it easier to buy across the platforms as well, but so that's the main.
Yeah, I don't see a whole lot of pros and cons. I mean, just buying simply on mobile web, historically mobile web was a little bit trickier. I think back in the day we saw a little bit more fraud in coming out of mobile web. I think a lot of what the MMPs have done with security and some other tools out there have really batted that down. So I've gotten a lot more comfortable buying on mobile web in general, and it's just I would say it's very comparable to in-app.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, I mean we buy pretty much 99.99% in-app. So
yeah.
Don't have much to add there, to be honest.
Fair enough. Okay, cool. All right. This is kind of a curveball question, but do you have any kind of crash and burn stories? Anything that happened within the past 18 months in your buying that was very just awakening for your buys? Anything that you'd want to share where you learned something that you got to take away that maybe changed the way that you were buying with a partner, maybe changed the way you looked at certain data points? Anything that would be exciting for the audience?
I think the audience will relate, but if we take the 18 months, so maybe even before, but all the companies are going into algorithm-based campaigns, and everything is like doing by the machines and not by us controlling it. And for us as Playtika, it was a super hard to adjust because we like to do everything on our own and get everything we can. And as I said before, to get as much data points for optimization. So if we take, for example, the UAC change, we used to have so many campaigns and we could control it all. And now we needed to adjust to kind of understand how we optimize in this kind of new environment back then. And all the other platforms are going there as well. So what is our job in the optimization, how we can do it better? And trust the machines that we work with. So
that's how AI is kind of changing it for everyone too, right? Yeah, making the lives easier. Levi, Brett?
I'd say fraud. Fraud in our space is prevalent. So,
Yeah.
I mean, those are a lot of like whack-a-mole almost sometimes, but sometimes it's just really sneaky, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, so we noticed something on our back end, like this is going on, and you've got to do a big investigation and figure out what the heck, how do we combat this and get it under control. So we're not paying someone in thousands of gift cards or something like that.
Right.
So.
Yeah, well, it's interesting to see the partners that have come out, the tools to kind of help combat that, right? Whether it's like a face tech and whether you can validate users, on your front end to make it your lives easier, not have to deal with that fraud on the back end. But
yeah, I mean, the tools have been great. I'll shout out AppsFlyer and P360. That was a clutch tool for us to implement. But I mean, it's amazing how fast and different the fraud that we've seen so far come into the ecosystem and how creative it is to what they do. So just, trying to wrap our heads around that and figure it out and what they're doing. That's like such a hard thing.
Have you seen that be way different since you moved into like another rewarded space where people can, I mean, it's crazy, right?
It is crazy. Like giving away free money or free gift cards for playing games. People have come up with all kinds of schemes and things to do. So it's different fraud for free to play. Not the same at all, but massively different for incentive.
yeah, let's just hope we keep AI on the good side of what we need and don't let them help get this fraud more and more sophisticated. All right, cool. I've got one last question to close this out. What is your guys' prediction going into the back half of the year, going into 2024? What's your guys' prediction just in the mobile gaming space, in the UA space in general? Where do you think it's going? What do you think's to come kind of in the near future here?
Okay. So I guess the obvious question, and everyone is talking about it, how ChatGPT and the whole AI thing kind of took over and very fast. Like we see that in 2 months, how everything changed since it's released. And we are already in the process, and a lot of AI we already use, but I think it will change the way we work in more and more areas, and not only in our industry, of course, but what I think that we will learn how to combine it smartly and like work with it, and it will like eventually make us maybe even like more advanced in terms of time to do business and to do strategy and like so yeah, that's I think the main.
Yeah, I would echo a lot of that. I know we talked about this just a minute before, but it's pretty interesting what's kind of happening on the generative AI front. I think it got a ton of buzz, and then we all like wrote songs and poems with it, and then like we took a beat and then we tried to figure out how we can use these things. I mean, I think effectively like we're moving to a world where like content is becoming near free, right? So then it's kind of like play out like how that actually affects things. And so I think that's going to mean like a ton more personalization in games, a ton more personalization in ads. So I think that's just, you don't have to go too far out to see some implications. I mean, we're using ChatGPT for some really interesting, things both on the creative side and on the data kind of tagging side already, and seeing like pretty strong results. So we're pretty heavily invested in this stuff as well.
Yeah, it's interesting. I heard someone talking about it yesterday about being careful with what we're sharing with ChatGPT, and if it's confidential company information that we're plugging in there, it's like trying to understand what they're doing with it on the back end. So being cautious, but leveraging it in all situations as you can.
I do some find and replaces sometimes.
Yeah,
fictional company names, things like that.
Yeah, fair enough.
I think for me, it's the economy. I don't think we've seen a recession in like the last most of the decade here. So as we see kind of those economic pressures, what happens to the if someone's 401k and retirement funds shrink quite a bit, their disposable income goes away, those ARPUs in our games apps goes down. What happens there? I think shout out to us. Like I think incentives like are going to be a stronger and stronger thing, to be honest with you. And I think people are going to look for deals, but I think it's very curious. I mean, we could have a default next week, and that could do it.
Yeah. Well, I think the beautiful part of our industry, specifically on the performance side, is, we are, a marketing channel that can be bought on a performance basis. So I think as far as our inventory, our, success hopefully will continue. We're just going to have to, kind of bob and weave as the economy changes. And I always feel like gaming specifically, no matter how the economy moves, people are always interested in playing games. People always find a dime or two to put into a game to continue playing. Cheap entertainment, right? But that's all we had for you guys today. Thank you guys so much for all of the details and all the feedback. I hope you guys had some takeaways, and I'm not sure how we're doing on time, but if you have questions for us, I don't think we're planning to do questions, but if you have any specific questions for any of us, feel free to grab us after. Some of us have booths, and we'll be kind of walking around the conference hall as well. So thanks so much for the time.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.